Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Andrea and today I'm gonna take you to Bhutan. I have prepared 3 recipes for you. One is veg, one is non-veg, and the third one is gonna be a dessert. But before we get started, of course, I'm gonna give you some cultural background regarding Bhutanese cuisine. So let's get started. Bhutanese cuisine is based on country's crops, and 2 major crops are, one is buckwheat and the second one is the red rice. These are 2 typical grains that you will find in a lot of Bhutanese recipes. The major type of meat that they're using in their dishes is the yak meat. And also they're using yak milk, yak cheese, and everything from the yak. People in Bhutan don't really eat desserts, so this is why it was a struggle for me to find some traditional desserts because they consume a lot of fresh fruit. And one last thing about the Bhutanese cuisine, they eat a lot of chilies. Obviously, because of the cold temperatures, they need to heat up a little, so they're consuming a lot of chilies in their dishes. And this is why their national dish, called as emadachi, contains a lot of chilies combined with cheese. So now that you know a little bit about the Bhutanese cuisine, let's get started with the cooking. So we're gonna start with the non-veg recipe as usual. We're gonna prepare something called as momos. If you are from India or from South Asia, I'm pretty sure you've heard about momos before because they are really famous snacks in this particular area of Asia and South Asia. So momos are some dumplings which are stuffed with meat traditionally. Originally they were stuffed with meat, but the moment they have reached India, they were adapted to the vegetarian Hindus. So this is how vegetarian momos came into existence. But originally they were born in Tibet, in this region of Tibet, and this is why they were made with yak meat. So today we're gonna prepare momos just like in Bhutan, but we're gonna use beef because we are not able to find yak everywhere. But they are still gonna be like super delicious. So let's get started. For this recipe, we're gonna need 200 grams of minced beef. And for the dough, we're gonna need 250 grams of all-purpose flour or 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and 200 milliliters of water. You might want to need more or less depending upon your flour. 1 spring onion chopped, 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, 1 chili minced, and 1 teaspoon of ginger garlic paste. I'm going to start by mixing the beef together with all the other remaining ingredients: the chili, the spring onion, the ginger garlic paste, and the soy sauce. I'm gonna mix everything well. I'm not adding any salt because my soy sauce is salty enough. If you like it saltier, you can add a little bit of salt. But for me, this was enough. So now I'm gonna prepare the dough. In a bowl, I have mixed the flour with the water like this until you get a really soft bowl. Don't knead it too much because we don't want to develop the gluten. We want a really soft and nice dough. Like this one. So my dough is ready. You can see that it's really soft like this. So I'm just gonna let it rest for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, I'm gonna start forming the wrappers for the momos. So I'm just gonna dust my surface with a little bit of flour, and then I'm gonna start forming the wrappers. Roll the piece of dough into a really nice and big sheet like this one, and with a small bowl you can form the circles that we're gonna need for the momos. I have got approximately 10 circles out of this one, so I had to roll it out again. So these are ready. Now I was supposed to show you how to prepare the momos, but I'm not a pro at shaping, so I would suggest you to click on the link above, and here you will see different ways of how to shape a momo. So I have chosen the easiest way, I would say. I remember this shape. Ever since I was in India, I used to eat this kind of momos shaped like this. But you can shape them as, I don't know, as you want. You can choose. So my momos are ready. This is how they look like. Now I'm gonna steam them. And my steamer, so the water is boiling and I have added some cabbage leaves so that it will protect them from sticking. I'm gonna boil them for about 20 minutes or 30 minutes or until everything gets cooked through, including the meat. So my momos are ready. This is how they look like after 30 minutes of cooking. So they're really nice and soft. And I have prepared a sauce out of soy sauce, rice wine vinegar, and a little bit of water. That is optional, of course. So I want to show you the interior as well to see that it's completely cooked. And it's like super, super delicious. I was really impressed with the result. And it's super easy to make that at home. You just need a steamer, that's it. So now that we're done with the non-veg recipe, let's start with the veg recipe, which will contain buckwheat. Remember that I told you in the very first beginning that one of the major crops in Bhutan is buckwheat. So they use a lot of buckwheat in their dishes. So we're gonna prepare something called as Puta. Puta are some buckwheat noodles which are handmade in Bhutan, handmade out of buckwheat flour. But since we won't have the time to do that and it's gonna be a little bit complicated, I just bought some soba noodles, the Japanese soda noodles. I'm pretty sure you know about them. So these are buckwheat noodles and you can use that to you know, get almost the same result. And it's still gonna be like super delicious. I loved them. So let's get started. For this recipe, we're gonna need 150 grams of soba noodles. Here I have 2 spring onions chopped, only the white parts mostly, 2 tablespoons of dark soy sauce, 1 whole chili minced, 2 eggs beaten, and 2 tablespoons of sesame seeds. I'm gonna start by adding the soba noodles to the boiling water. I'm gonna add some salt first. Then I'm gonna add the noodles and I'm gonna let them cook as per the package instructions. Mine are supposed to cook for about 6 to 7 minutes. After 6 to 7 minutes, my noodles look like this. They're completely cooked. Now I'm just gonna drain them and I'm gonna rinse them with cold water so that it won't stick. In a separate pan, I have heated 1 tablespoon of oil and I have added the spring onions. I'm just gonna saute it for about 1 or 2 minutes maximum. And then I'm gonna add the chili and I'm gonna saute it a little bit as well for about 1 minute. That should be enough. And then I have added the 2 beaten eggs. So I'm just gonna scramble them like this. I don't want the vegetables to mix with the egg, but if you get some pieces here and there, that's fine. If you want, you can do it in a separate pan, but I just wanted to do everything in the same pan. So now I have mixed everything together and I'm gonna add the noodles, which I have drained and washed with cold water. Now I'm gonna mix everything well so that I'll get all the pieces inside. Now I'm just gonna add the soy sauce. I'm gonna mix everything well. And now they're ready. So I have added some sesame seeds. Mine are a little bit sticky because they got cold. I had to take the photos, of course, but serve them hot because they're the best. So now we have reached the dessert part. As I told you in the very first beginning, people in Bhutan don't really have traditional desserts. They eat a lot of fresh fruit. So it was a struggle for me to find traditional dessert. I have adapted it from a savory recipe. So we're gonna make some buckwheat pancakes, which are used, you know, they can be used both in savory and sweet dishes. They use them in savory dishes. In Bhutan, for example, they use them as you know, a flatbread for breakfast. They eat it with some egg or something salty. So today I decided to make them just like the French crepes, and just fill them with jam or honey or whatever you want. You can add fruit, you can add whipped cream. They are like super delicious, and it's a good alternative for gluten-free people. So let's get started. For this recipe, we're gonna need 1.5 cup of buckwheat flour, or 220 grams of buckwheat flour, 400 milliliters of milk. You might want to need more or less depending on the flour, 1 teaspoon of vegetable oil, and 1 egg. I'm gonna start by cracking the egg into a bowl, and I'm gonna beat it nicely, and then I'm gonna start adding the milk gradually, and I'm gonna mix everything well. Then I'm gonna add the vegetable oil, mix everything well, and then I'm gonna add the buckwheat flour gradually. We want to get a thick batter, just like the French crepe batter, but not too runny at the same time, nor too thick. So I'm gonna show you the right consistency right away. So this is the right consistency. You can see that it's runny and thick at the same time. So now I'm gonna start cooking them into a hot pan in which I have added a little bit of oil. I'm just gonna add a little bit of quantity. You can make them as thick as you want or as thin as you want. It's your choice. And when it starts forming bubbles, then we're gonna flip them on the other side. So they are ready. This is how they should look like. They're pretty flexible, and they're like super nice with jam or honey, but you can eat them as breakfast with egg or something savory as well. It's your choice. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode and the recipes that I have presented to you, and the cultural information as well. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time with another episode and with another country. Bye bye.